Hey, Algebra 2. We're moving on to Chapter 6, Lesson 4, and we are doing binomials containing radicals. So let's talk about what a binomial is. A binomial is two terms, like x plus 3, but now they're going to contain radicals, like x plus the square root of 3. Our essential question says, can you simplify products and quotients of binomials that contain radicals? Let's take a look at example 1. We have a binomial, 5 minus root 3, times another binomial, 3 plus 2 root 3. We're going to do the same thing that we learned in good old Algebra 1. We're going to FOIL. First terms are 15, 5 times 3. Outer terms are positive 10. So remember, I'm multiplying the 5 and the 2. Root 3, we are not multiplying the radical by anything. We multiply the numbers by numbers, radicals by radicals. Inner terms, I just have a negative 3 root 3. And last terms, negative root 3 times positive 2 root 3. Well, remember this is a 1, so that will be negative 2 root 9. And I know that the square root of 9 is 3. So this number, negative 2 times 3, will actually be a 6. I'm going to actually cross that out. It will be a negative 6 because the negative's there. So we have to add like terms. 15 and negative 6 add up to be 9. 10 root 3 minus 3 root 3 is 7 root 3. Not so shabby, huh? All right, let's look at example 2. Example 2 says 4 root 2 plus root 3 squared. Well, I like to see it all written out, so I'm going to get rid of this little square, and I'm just going to write it again, 4 root 2 plus root 3. All right, so let's multiply what we need to multiply here. First terms, 4 times 4 is 16. Root 2 and root 2 is root 4. We'll deal with that in a second. Outer terms, 4 root 2 times root 3 is 4 root 6. Because remember, this is a 1. 1 times 4. Root 2 times root 3 is root 6. Inner terms is going to be the exact same thing, 4 root 6. And last terms, root 3 times root 3 is root 9. Now, I told you we would deal with these things later, so let's deal with them. Now that later has come, root 4 is 2. Root 9 is 3. So what this says, well, 16 times 2 is 32. Plus, well, if I add like terms, because we can add like radicals, 4 root 6 plus 4 root 6 is 8 root 6. And don't forget this root 9, which became a 3. So my final answer is 35 plus 8 root 6. Now, this one is a very, very important lesson. I do want you to star, circle, and highlight this because we are talking about something that we call the conjugate. The conjugate is very, very important. It's something you'll use the rest of your high school career. So remember, we can't have a radical on the bottom. So on the top, I have this binomial, 2 plus root 3. And on the bottom, I have 1 plus root 3. And what we do is we use what we call the conjugate to rationalize the denominator. So again, we want to rationalize, which we learned already. I'm going to write that out. But now we're going to use what we call the conjugate, because the conjugate is what's going to help us to rationalize. So stick with me for a second. Do y'all see how this is 1 plus root 3? Well, the conjugate is 1 minus root 3. Now remember, I can multiply anything through by 1, so that's why I have to multiply by 1 minus root 3 over 1 minus root 3, because that's equivalent to 1. And on the top, I'm going to FOIL. First terms is 2. Outer terms is negative 2 root 3. Inner terms is positive root 3. and the last term is negative root 9, which again I know is 3. I'll cross that out for you. On the bottom, first terms, 1 times 1 is 1. Outer terms is negative root 3. Inner terms is positive root 3. And my last term is negative root 9, which of course again is 3. Now notice why we use what we call the conjugate. Because the positive root 3 and the negative root 3 will cancel out on the bottom. And that's our whole goal. We want to rationalize the denominator. So let's go ahead and see what our final answer is. On the top, I have 2 minus 3, which is negative 1. I have negative 2 root 3 plus root 3 is negative 1 root 3. And on the bottom, these canceled out. So I have 1 and a negative 3, which is negative 2. Now, I would probably take time to get rid of all these, because if I factor out a negative 1, all of this will come out. So the final answer here would be 1 plus root 3 over 2. All right, so this is called the conjugate. Remember, the conjugate is going to be just kind of the opposite. So if this was 1 plus root 3, remember we use 1 minus root 3 to rationalize the denominator. All right, so what is the conjugate of example 4? I have 1 over root 5 minus 1. The conjugate of this binomial would be root 5 plus 1. And I love it when they make it this easy for us, because on the top, notice I just have root 5 plus 1. And on the bottom, root 5 times root 5 is root 25. The outers are positive root 5. The inners are negative root 5. And the last term is negative 1. So let's do our magic. I know the square root of 25 is 5. A positive root 5 and a negative root 5, those will so nicely cancel out. So my final answer is the square root of 5 plus 1 all over 5 minus 1 is 4. All right, great job. So don't forget that conjugate, and don't forget to always rationalize the denominator.